Welcome to the Find Your Edge podcast. I'm your host, Chris Newport, founder, head coach, sports nutritionist, and exercise physiologist at the Endurance Edge. Our mission is to empower people to reach and sustain peak performance and health. So get ready to dive into all things training, nutrition, recovery, and more. We hope to give you detailed information and inspiring stories to help you be your best. Let's do it. All right, welcome back to the Find Your Edge podcast. I am your host, Coach Chris Newport, and today I'm with Coach Peter, Dr. Peter Ormsby, actually. So welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me today.
This is all about getting to know the coach, because I feel like our coaching staff is amazing and has such a diverse background. So for you, Peter, how did you get into triathlon?
30 years ago, 94, so graduate of 94. And
by the way, if you can watch this on YouTube, you definitely need to, because we were just talking about who has the better gray, my hair or Peter's beard.
I went to Elon College, now Elon University, and we only had cross country in the fall. We didn't have track or anything like that. So to do something in the spring to keep kind of active, I started doing triathlon. Didn't have a swimming background, barely had a road bike, but was a decent runner, obviously running in college, and just started in the spring of 95. My first race was Azalea down at UNCW back in the day. So that's kind of how it started, and it was just a spring summer type thing. My college roommate and I traveled all up and down North Carolina to Loggerhead Island and Topsail and did all the local, North Carolina ones back in the day, and then kind of graduated to, I've done St. Anthony's, I think, when I was still in college. I did Eagle Man like 2000, 2001, and then did Ironman Wisconsin in 2002 as my first Ironman, still in school, albeit as a Florida State graduate student for my PhD. And then took a portion of time off to finish the degree, raise 2 kids, was married and everything else, and then got back into it full swing, I think in 12 or 13, when I was at Weber International, and we had the first ever scholarship triathlon program in the country. And I was there 07 to 14. So we had a triathlon program for 3 years, I think, when I was there.
So you've got this like little blended kind of thing going on, which is super cool, that you were racing for cross country, doing triathlon as a side gig kind of thing. And then lo and behold, you got into coaching. So but not for triathlon, right?
No, not originally. No.
Yeah.
No. The coaching thing started in 99 when I got to Florida State, and it wasn't even on the radar, not even close. Going to Florida State to go to school, sports psychology, do whatever I was doing. And my wife was interviewing for a job at a high school, and I'm sitting in the car like a hot dog waiting for her to come out. And the next thing I know, I've got the AD and the current cross country coach knocking on my window going, "Hey, your wife's interviewing in there, but she said you ran in college in cross country." I was like, "Yes." Like, "Do you want to coach?" I was like, "Sure." So that's how
that is the wildest
me.
interview story I think I've ever heard.
It was never not even close. So I coached high school for 3 years and was still going to school, still racing myself. And then in 2000, 2001, I think, I needed an internship for my PhD. Got on board with Florida State Track and Field and started volunteer coaching for them, was their lead performance enhancement consultant for a season, and then kind of got on as a paid volunteer and stuff like that. And that one thing led to the next, to where I went from Florida State to UCF to Weber to now up here at UNC Pembroke. And with Endurance Edge, like many years later. So yes.
Yeah, which is very exciting. Because you're not, so the Endurance Edge is based in Cary, North Carolina. You're about 90 minutes south of us?
Give or take. Yep. Ish. We'll say ish. Yes. South side of Fayetteville. Yep.
Okay.
Hope Mills. We'll say Hope Mills. We don't want to be associated with Fayetteville, even though it's a pretty cool town. We are on the south side, Hope Mills, and it's closer to Pembroke, which is another 40 minutes down the road.
So all of those years of training and all of those years of coaching, what would you say is your philosophy or style of coaching?
I don't want to say I'm laissez-faire, even though it may come across if you talk to my athletes. I'm not a in-your-face, yell, scream type person at practice or anything like that. That's more, I save that for more for race day. It's more encouragement as opposed to yelling during practice because it's a waste of that.
Well, especially with
Um,
your background in sports psychology, right? Like, is that an effective method of
and
coaching?
not for me, at least. Not for
Yeah.
me. I'm share a hallway with baseball, and the baseball coach is four-letter words all day, and
Oh,
that's his motivation, and I appreciate that. I just can't do that when I'm coaching guys and girls at the same time. It doesn't work. But I think philosophy for triathlon and endurance-based athletes, it's the program's there. I'm willing to answer any questions, help you do whatever, but I'm not going to be in your face telling you suck if you don't finish workout. Because I know, we all know that life gets in the way of
mhm.
executing a plan to 100%. And I feel I'm very flexible, having been married for 25 years, two grown butt kids, and trying to balance a semi-competitive racing schedule within that. So like I get it, and I'm willing to work around that. So I guess I'm not laissez-faire, but I'm flexible with the needs and desires of the athletes I work with.
Yeah. Would you like to share what race you did last year in the fall time period,
Oh, like
perhaps?
this time last year?
Uh-huh. This time last year. Uh-huh.
This time last year, I might have been in a country called France getting ready for the Ironman World Championships.
I mean, kind of a big deal.
I would have trained a little bit differently had I known or realized how much 8,000 feet of climbing actually felt like, and how many times I wanted to get off that bike within the first hour and a half, 2 hours. But
But that's the fun
great.
part about racing, right?
Yeah, the sucky part about world championships and that kind of racing is the age group I'm in. I was the last male age group to go in the water.
Oh.
So as bad of a day I had on both the bike and the run, just from a time span perspective, I've never been in a race where they've started to shut down aid stations. So like the back half of the run where they were shutting down and cleaning out the aid station, I was like,
Hello.
hello, I've still got 10K to go. But
What
no,
an interesting experience for someone who's you're probably towards and have been used to being the front of the pack. And now it's like, oh my gosh, now I'm towards the back. And what happens back here?
it's
Even though
kind of cool.
you're not slow, but just a different
Yeah,
race. Yeah.
Worlds in 23 was slow. The wife did not like 14 hours of waiting,
Oh,
but made up for that this year at Roth with right at about 11 hours. So like
nice.
she was very pleased with that. But it is kind of cool depending on how slow or where you are in transition, because you can hear the male winner, or you can see Jan Frodeno coming down the finishing chute while you're going out on the run. So there's perks of winning where you start and your time on the course.
I dig it. All right. So I've been asking all our coaches this. What is a memorable success story or achievement you've had with one or some of your athletes? Because you've got quite the coaching career. You just had one athlete had a baby. Not that you, I mean, you coached her through that. That's kind of a big
Well,
deal.
she would be my second athlete to have a baby, because I had one when I was coaching in college too, which was weird, but she came back stronger and faster. So maybe that's what said athlete will do.
There you go.
Um, I don't know. Like I've had athletes win conference titles, be all American and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's while that is a success as defined by a lot of people, I get excited when the athlete comes back from a race or an event and they say, hey, that was a PR, that was a season best, lifetime best, whatever. And I'm excited about just their facial expressions, and their excitement gets me excited. And so I could have 10 achievements in a meet or stuff like that. I think when they win team stuff, that's kind of like the big success. But I think within that, you've got little successes.
Yeah.
Um, and it could be 1 second, it could be 10 seconds, could be a minute, could be 10 minutes. Over the course of 25 plus years, I've had an All-American in the marathon when I was NAI, which he finished fourth, which was really cool. And I've had a guy finish eighth in the country for D2 cross country twice. But while those are very good and those are my recruiting points, I think it's the average kid getting better is where I like to hang my hat on the achievements and the success.
So it sounds like not just the big quote unquote titles, but the small steps and just continuing to move forward.
Yeah, because the fasties are always going to be fast, and you can only have so many fasties on a team. It's really those average to a semi above average athletes that you're actually developing. So like my 4-time All-American in cross, he was fast already. I just was crossing my fingers that I didn't get him any slower. So that's that. But like it's those kids that come in as 17-minute 10K guys or 5K guys out of high school, and they're running 15-minute 5Ks a year and a half later. or it's the girls that are running 22 minutes 5Ks in high school and they're running 19:30 or faster, a year and a half. Well, last year I had a girl as 21, 22 minutes. She ran 19:30 indoors and was about 19 low outdoors. That's a pretty big improvement for a 6 to 8 month span. And we were I don't say running through. We were running with injury, but we managed them successfully to where she could do that. So
yeah. Yeah. So you've talked a good amount about some of your younger athletes. How, with the Endurance Edge, generally speaking, our average age, I would say, is somewhere between late 20s and like mid 60s, probably averaging out somewhere in the 40s-ish, I'd say. How would you compare those two groups of like, hey, I'm coming to you and I want to do my first Ironman or I want to get faster? Do you feel like it's a different approach than cross-country kids in college?
yeah, not necessarily. I think
Okay. Yeah. Tell me about that.
I think they're all coming to you with a goal. So one person's goal at 18 to 22 is to get as fast as they can in the shortest amount of time to do whatever it is. And they may never have the ability to have the resources they have for those 4 years, the coaching they have. And they get free resources, free coaching, free shoes, free gear. Now, 20 years later, which is where we are, or I am, it's the same thing. Like they're trying to maximize their fitness, but still achieve goals. Now, the goal may not be to win a race, win a conference title, win whatever. It may be, let me place top 10 my age group, or let me get on the podium of my age group, or this is what I have to do to get to worlds or to an age group championship. And let me rank myself amongst people in my age group and that. So like, it's the same goal. We're just working at a different time frame, and we may not have quite as much time to work with because in college they're there for 4 years, whereas we may only have an athlete for 6 months to a year to 2 years to 3 years, depending on how long their interest in the sport and life takes them.
Yeah.
I also like it because it's like I'm right there with them. So like if I've got somebody who's doing an Ironman for the first time, while I don't feel I'm bragging, but I'm giving them my veteran, and this didn't work for me, so don't do this, because you don't want to end up like Coach Hornsby on the side of the road. But no, I enjoy like doing that because I really can't do that with my kids because I was slower in college than they are. And I'm not any faster now, but I'm more resilient now than I was back then. And I think they keep me going. And I think it just kind of carries into the more adult athletes that I work with.
Do you think that that's a difference in training volume or intensity, or just training differently, or maybe getting better rest? Like, what would you attribute your success as a triathlete to?
It's a little bit of like, I'm going to say like nutrition is probably my like weekend. Like it is I'm just always working on that. I'm a train to eat type person, or eat to train. No,
Or both. We'll
or
just call
both.
it both.
I like my pizza, I like my burgers, I like my monsters, whatever. But I also like my 6 hour bike rides. I like my 2 hour long runs. I think for me, it's just consistency. And I could go back in my training log 2, 3, 4, 5 years to where my training hours have increased, not exponentially, but it's been like 60 to 90 hours each year since like COVID. I think COVID was still a great year for everybody from a training perspective if they took advantage of it. But I can definitely look back in my training logs and say, okay, 2020 was great. 2024 is going to be probably 5-10% higher than that. So I think it's the consistency of what you're doing along with rest, recovery, and everything else that kind of goes into how long you can do this without getting hurt.
I think there is an assumption that, oh, I'm going to train for, let's call it Ironman. All of a sudden you're up to the volume that you're at, and then somebody gets hurt. I mean, so what I hear you saying is this takes a long time to develop. Like endurance takes a while.
We can all coach somebody to an Ironman in 6 months. Now that may just be to finish an Ironman, which is great. I think everybody that wants to do that it's how competitive do you want to be, or can you be? And I think you got to get that first one you got to do it. But then I also think you have to be consistent over the next couple of years, racing 70.3s and picking the right Ironman depending on what the goal is for them, whether it's 12 hours, 14 hours, 10 hours, whatever the case may be. It's picking one that fits your lifestyle, your training needs, and the time of year.
That's a good point. Cool. All right. So are you ready for a little rapid fire, not rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Okay. We'll see how quickly you answer these because the other coaches I've asked, we just go off on tangents and it doesn't end up really being rapid fire, but that's okay. We're gonna all ask the same questions. So what are your, and we can see them, what are your bike brands?
Quintana Roo is
Uh-huh.
the racing bike,
Cool.
and
Oh, that one's behind the,
that one's behind Bucky the Beaver. So that's a Specialized.
okay.
So
All
those are my two brands, Quintana Roo and Specialized as it stands right now.
Okay, cool. What is your favorite distance to race?
70.3.
Okay. And what's your favorite distance to coach?
I would say probably 70.3 or Ironman,
All
but
right.
I can go down to the Olympic side if needed or wanted.
Okay. All right. What is your current favorite discipline? Is it swim, bike, run, strength train, eating
Uh,
pizza?
if eating pizza was a discipline, I'd be right there. Um, I don't know. It's between the bike and the run. If you asked me 10 years ago, I'd probably say for sure the run. Still learning how to race efficiently on the bike and learning how to push because I having a run background, I want to save some for the run and don't want to cook myself too much on the bike. So I'm still learning power and stuff like that on the bike to make sure it's good.
So you're saying you can't get this sport figured out in one race,
I'm still figuring it out 30 years later.
right? What is your favorite race?
Oh, I would say after doing Roth in July, I'd say that's a top three race, but I'd also say 70.3 in Hawaii, I think is a favorite too. I've done that twice, and I think we're going back there next year.
Is that
But I'd
Maui?
say it's on Kona or
Oh, on the Big Island?
it's on the Big
Yeah.
Island. It starts halfway up. It's at the Fairmont Orchid, so it starts 20 miles north
Haleiwa, I think it is.
or west of
Yeah.
Waikoloa. Yeah,
Okay.
that's. But no, we've enjoyed that. We've gone there twice, and then we'll go back next year. So
Very cool. Love that. Pet peeve as a coach and pet peeve as an athlete. See, I told you this wasn't going to be rapid fire, but that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Pet peeve as a coach is really athletes that say they're going to listen, but then do exactly the opposite of what you want.
Mm, hmm.
So like, hey, don't do 3 workouts in one day just because you missed one the other day. And lo and behold, Training Peaks shows 3 workouts within whatever 30 minutes of each other. And I was
Hmm.
like, you just killed yourself for the next day and a half.
Yeah. I always love how
Um,
they're like, but it says it on my calendar. I was like, yeah, and guess who has the power to make it go away? Delete.
pet peeve as an athlete. I don't know if I have a pet peeve as an athlete. I wish, well, I guess it is a pet peeve. I wish athletes would just abide by the rules and not wear headphones and all this other stuff when they're not supposed to. So maybe that's the race director in me or whatever, but I just hate seeing that because you obviously didn't read them or don't know USAT rules.
Yes. Well, and if you're potentially compromising your own safety and the safety of others,
Yep.
it's kind of like, yeah. All right. Your favorite workout to program and your favorite workout to do.
I enjoy bricks. I
Okay.
know we talked about that on the coaches call last week, and Marty's not a huge fan.
Yeah.
I and my wife was listening to that whole conversation. I like them. Now, I may not do them exactly the way they're supposed to be, where it's like come back, drop the bike, get on the run. I'll take like 5-10 minutes because that's what transition on 70.3 or an Ironman is going to be.
Hmm.
But I enjoy feeling what the legs are going to feel on that, and I've been surprised at how fast. Like if it's a heart rate based run, I'm like it's heart rate, but then I'm going like 7 flat. I was like, who would have thought I was going to go 7 flat off the bike?
Hmm. Yeah.
But I enjoy that, and that's a weekly thing for me. So there's not a well. This week I'm racing this weekend, so I probably won't do anything until
Oh,
the
yeah.
weekend. So.
Where are you racing?
Age group nationals up in Atlantic City,
Oh,
so I'm
that's
doing both.
right. Yes. Ooh, good luck ahead of time. Okay. So favorite workouts, bricks. What do you like to program? Do you also like to program bricks? And just so if somebody doesn't know what a brick is, generally speaking, it is like a bike run combination workout, but it could kind of be any combination of workouts, really.
Yeah. I haven't tried the swim bike thing because I think they say that's important too. I just
It's
haven't got.
logistically, personally, that's kind of a pain to me. I'm like, I don't want to get my bike wet if I don't have to, but that's kind of lame of me, but you know,
Hardest part's getting the wetsuit off. Maybe that's what they're transitioning is
yeah,
getting the
could
wetsuit
be.
off and putting
Hmm.
programming wise. I don't know. Like I think program, I think I'm equally everything has its place. So I don't think there's a favorite thing. I think every workout has its own place within the week, but a lot of it depends on the athlete. The athlete may go, I want to run one extra day. Fine, we can run 5 days a week,
Yeah.
or we can do 3 swims instead of 4. So like I'm open to the athletes of how, like, I know the structure of what I want, but obviously it's their plan. So just being flexible with what they want and where they want it.
Yeah. I think that just goes to show that there's not one way to accomplish your goal. I think there's a sort of perhaps a misperception or a misconception that you have to run 3 times and bike 3 times and swim 3 times a week. And that's otherwise you're not a good triathlete. And it sounds like you're saying that's not really the case.
I like the structure that I use, but I know it's not for everybody.
Hmm.
But also, like, if they can't run too much anyway, then maybe we have to do a little bit of extra swimming and biking, or we have to supplement with cross training and stuff like that. So like, I'm flexible with nearly anything and everything, just knowing that there are minimums that I think we need to do per week. So I think there's a minimum that we should be programming, but obviously it's all up to the athlete and what they can handle in recovery. If we're working with middle age or 30 to whatever athletes, is like, recovery is a huge thing. And I know you guys don't like it that I'm able to do an Ironman and come back the next week and do a half Ironman and do even better at the half. So
You guys, we have weekly coaches meetings, which are great because we all get to learn from each other and share war stories or ask questions or learn how to just generally program differently, better, coach differently, better. And when I say we, it's typically Carly and myself who are giving Peter the hardest time because the amount of beating that this dude can take that I know I couldn't take. We razz you because we're jealous. So there's that.
So it was, the whole thing was, 22. It was 22 that I did Ironman Maryland, went 11:22, which is a PR at the time for me. And then I came back the following week and did Augusta, went 4:44, which was a PR for like, as like a 20-year PR. And I was done after that. That was the end of the season. There was no, but I
You peaked
surprised
at
myself.
just the right
I
time.
peaked at just the right time, and you guys were not the only ones, because I had other people on Facebook going, "What the hell were you thinking?" I was like, I couldn't get out of it. I'd already signed up for it. Couldn't
Yeah.
do it.
And I will say that's a little bit of my pet peeve is like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Or like somebody else, certainly on social media, being like thinking that they know your context, like, no, that's their opinion. And maybe it wouldn't work for them. But if it works for you, great. And
Yeah.
clearly it did. So, and you're still here.
I'm trying to think. I think I did the same thing last year. I think I did Worlds, and 2 weeks later it was Augusta.
It was something like that.
It was something like that. So yeah,
if I remember right, it was like a 3-week turnaround, maybe, or something else that you did.
maybe I had an extra
You
week.
did
So
2
it was 2.
Ironmans, wasn't
I
it?
did I did Placid in July, and I came back and did Worlds in September, which is
Yeah.
this week.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks later was Augusta. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't be jealous. Just know that Peter knows himself very well. And that's okay. We will leave the razzing to us. You're welcome.
Yes.
So, do you have a least favorite workout?
Anything that involves sprints in the pool.
Really?
Yeah. I will do 2, 3,000, 4,000 straight in the pool. But if you want me to do 25 sprints as fast as I can, no bueno.
So you're
Just
made
no.
for Ironman, is what I just heard you say.
I am made for like 5-second recoveries, and I can go all day with that, or continuous stuff. But if you want me to do threshold and LT and sprints in the pool,
Negative.
not going to happen. It will happen. It just won't be. You won't see a pace differential
Or a smile on your face
until I'm done. Yes.
until you're done. Yeah, that's fair. All right, cool. Well, Peter, thank you for sharing your story and your history and hopefully your personality too, right? Because everyone deserves to have the right fit and have a good relationship with their coach because I'm like, coaching is very personal. And I think so many people are like, oh yeah, I just got to plan off the internet, which is fine. I feel like everybody needs a place to start or at least have some level of structure. But if you're really going to do better, I feel like you have to have that good third party to be guiding you in the right way. So if you guys want to work with Coach Peter, head on over to our website, theenduranceedge.com. And Peter, thank you so much for sharing, and we appreciate having you on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Find Your Edge podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. And if you're interested in learning more about our endurance coaching, sports and wellness nutrition, metabolic and sweat testing, triathlon training team, or our triathlon training library, be sure to check us out at theenduranceedge.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at The Endurance Edge. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time.